I want to start with the photo because the photo is where I started too. It was a Sunday. I was clearing space on my phone because it kept telling me the storage was full. And the fastest way to free up room is to scroll back through years of pictures and delete the bad ones, the blurry ones, the accidental shots of the floor. I'd done it 100 times. It's a boring thing to do on a slow afternoon. I got to a photo from a cabin trip. 4 of us had rented a place near the lake one October. I remembered that weekend clearly. The wood stove that wouldn't draw, the card game that went until 2 in the morning, the drive up with everyone's bags crammed in the back. The photo showed 3 people on the porch. I counted them twice. 3. And I sat there with my thumb stopped over the screen because I knew there had been 4 of us. I had rented the cabin for 4. I'd split the cost 4 ways. There was a 4th chair on that porch in the photo, pulled out at an angle, the way a chair sits when someone has just stood up from it. But the chair was empty. I told myself the obvious thing first. He took the photo, of course.
One person always ends up behind the camera. That's why it's 3. I actually felt relieved for a second. Then I tried to remember his name, and I couldn't. I need you to understand that I am not a careless person about people. I'm careless about a lot of things. Storage space, parking tickets, the oil in my car. But I knew the 4 of us. I could see the weekend. I could hear the card game. I could remember being annoyed at the 4th person for cheating at something, laughing while he did it. I just couldn't find the name. So I scrolled. I went looking for another photo from that trip, one with all 4 of us in it, because somebody must have set a timer or asked a stranger to take one. I found 3 more pictures from the cabin, the kitchen, the lake, the car loaded up to leave. Every one of them had an empty space where a person should be. A gap at the kitchen counter. A towel on the dock with nobody on it. The back seat of the car with a seatbelt fastened across nothing. That was the first night I didn't sleep. The next morning I told myself I was tired, and I'd imagined the size of it. I made coffee. I opened my laptop because all my phone photos back up to the laptop automatically, and I thought, the backup will be different. The backup is older. The backup will have him. The backup had the same gaps. But here's the part that turned my stomach, and I want to say it plainly because it's the whole engine of what happened to me. The photos were not damaged. There was no smear, no edit, no black hole, no blur. The light fell correctly into the empty chair. The shadow under the dock towel was the right shadow for that hour. If you handed these photos to a stranger, they would not say, "Something is wrong with this picture." They would say, "Nice lake." The photos were honest. They were showing me exactly what was there, which meant the wrong thing wasn't in the photo. The wrong thing was in the world. I started writing things down because I could feel my own memory getting slippery, like a name on the tip of your tongue that you're sure you'll grab any second, and then it's gone for a week. I got a notebook. On the first page, I wrote everything I still had. 4 of us. The cabin. October, 2 years ago. He cheated at the card game. He drove part of the way. He had a gray jacket. He laughed with his whole face. I tried to write the name and my pen stopped on the page, not because I was thinking, because there was nothing there to reach for. It was like reaching into a coat pocket you're certain you put your keys in and finding the lining. So I went to find proof. If memory wouldn't hold him, evidence might. I knew I had his number somewhere. We'd texted to plan the trip. I opened my messages and searched the cabin, the lake, October. The group chat was still there. It was a group of 4. I counted the little circles at the top. 3. The messages were still there too. What time are we leaving? Did anyone grab firewood? I'm bringing the cards. But every message that should have been his was just gone. Not deleted with a gap. The conversation read smoothly, like 3 people had always planned a trip for 3. The questions he'd asked still had answers. The answers just didn't have a question anymore. I scrolled to the firewood message. Somebody had written, "Thanks, see you there." A reply to a person who, according to my phone, had never said anything. I sat very still after that, because I understood that this was moving. It hadn't finished. The photos went first, then the chat. Something was working backward and forward through everything that proved he existed, and it was faster than I was. I drove to the lake. I don't fully know what I expected. I think I wanted the cabin to remember him even if my phone wouldn't. The owner kept paper records, a real book, a guest ledger, because the place was old and she liked it old. I asked to see the booking from 2 Octobers ago. She found it. She turned the book around so I could read it. The booking was in my name. Under it, a line, "Number in party." It said 3. But here's the thing, and this is when my hands started shaking in a stranger's office. The total charge written next to it was the 4-person rate. I remembered that rate. I'd complained about it. The arithmetic on the page was for 4 people. The number written down said 3. The ledger contradicted itself, and the woman who kept it didn't see anything wrong, because to her, it had always said 3, and the money was just the money. I asked her, carefully, if she remembered the group. 4 guys, one of them in a gray jacket, the one who always made everyone laugh. She thought about it, genuinely trying to be kind, and she said, "Honey, I get a lot of groups." She wasn't lying. She just didn't have him either. I want to tell you about the other photographs now, because up to this point, you could tell me I'd lost my mind. And there were hours that day I'd have agreed with you. On the drive back, I called one of the other 3, one of the people who'd actually been on that porch. I'll call him the careful one, because he's the kind of person who keeps things, who has a shoebox of printed photos like our parents used to. I didn't say anything strange. I just asked him to go through his cabin pictures and tell me who was in them. I heard him flipping through. I heard him stop. He said, "That's weird." He said there was a photo of him with his arm around someone, and the someone wasn't there. His arm was just out, bent at the elbow, resting on air at shoulder height. He said it like it was a printing error. He said, "My thumb must have been over the lens." But a thumb over the lens doesn't leave the rest of the picture perfect. A thumb over the lens doesn't leave your arm curved around the exact shape of a person who isn't in it. That was the moment it stopped being only mine. His photos were missing the same person. His memory hadn't caught up to the gap yet. He still half remembered the way I had on the first night. But the evidence was already gone from his shoebox too. I didn't tell him to keep that photo safe. I should have. I think about that. I went home and I worked all night, and I learned the rule the hard way. The evidence disappeared faster than I could collect it. I'd find a thing, and while I was looking at the next thing, the first thing would change. I found a receipt in an old jacket, a gas station receipt from the drive-up, 2 coffees and a sandwich, and I'd only ever drink 1 coffee, so the second coffee was his. I set it on the table. I went to get my notebook from the other room. When I came back, the receipt said, 1 coffee. I'm not saying it vanished into smoke. I'm saying it had always said 1 coffee, the same way the chat had always been 3. the same way the ledger had always said 3. The past was being rewritten in front of me and behind me, and the only place the old version survived was inside my head, and my head was leaking. I started racing it. Anything I could find, I photographed with a camera, then wrote in the notebook, then said out loud, then texted to myself, trying to pin him down in 4 places at once before any single one could be smoothed over. It almost worked. For about an hour, I felt like I was winning. Then I checked the photographs I'd just taken of the evidence, and they were honest too. They showed the table. They showed 1 coffee. Here is what I had left by the end. Not much. A jacket, gray, too big for me, that had been hanging in my hall closet for 2 years, and that I had somehow never questioned. A gray jacket I'd told myself I'd been meaning to give to charity. I put it on.
It smelled like the cold, and a little like cigarettes, and I don't smoke. And for 1 second the smell brought his face almost all the way back. Almost. A wide face, a laugh, and then it slid off again like water. And a voicemail. I'd known about the voicemail the whole time, and I'd been avoiding it. I want to be honest about that, because it's the center of everything I did wrong. I had a saved voicemail from 2 years ago, around the time of the cabin trip, and the little label under it was a phone number with no name attached. A contact that had quietly become a number, the way everything about him was becoming nothing. I hadn't played it. I'd been telling myself I was saving it for when I had more proof, when I was calmer, when I had time. That was the same lie I'd been telling for 2 years without knowing it. I'll call him back. I'll deal with it later. There's time. I want to tell you the truth about the wound now, because the investigation finally walked me right up to it, and there was nowhere left to look but at it. He hadn't drifted away on his own. I'd let him go. The texts I couldn't see anymore had been him reaching out, after the cabin, again and again. Small ones, easy ones. You around this weekend? Give me a call when you can. And I'd left them on read, not out of any reason, just out of the soft, everyday neglect of a person who assumes the people who love him will keep standing there until he gets around to them. I'd let the gap open 1 unanswered message at a time. The world wasn't erasing a stranger. It was finishing a job I'd already started. So I played the voicemail. It's the only piece of him that survived, and I think it survived because I almost didn't listen to it. And the things you almost destroy yourself are the things this doesn't seem able to reach. I don't know. I told you the room would stay unexplained. This part stays unexplained. His voice was warm, tired but warm. There was a card game going on somewhere behind him. I could hear it, the cabin, the laughing. He said he'd had a good weekend. He said it had been too long, and they shouldn't let it get that long again. He said, "Call me back, no rush, whenever." And then he said my name, easily, the way you say the name of someone you're sure of. And then he said his own. He said, "It's," and the name is gone, not bleeped, not cut. The recording plays clean and unbroken, his warm, tired voice, the card game, and then a single smooth second where a name should be and isn't, and then, "Anyway, call me back." I have listened to it more times than I can count. The complete name has never survived a single play. I get the warmth, I get the cabin, I get "call me back." I get everything except the one word that would let me look him up, find him, prove him, save him. Whatever this is, it lets me keep the love and takes the handle. It lets me miss him and never reach him. That's the cruelty of it. It isn't trying to frighten me. It left me the voicemail on purpose. It wanted me to hear him ask me to call back, 2 years too late,
in a voice that didn't know it was already disappearing. I still have the jacket. I still have the voicemail. I'd show them to you, but you'd see a coat and hear a man with no name, and you'd be kind about it, like the woman with the ledger.
The three of us who were on that porch don't talk about it. I asked the careful one once, gently, about his shoebox photo. The one with his arm around nothing. He didn't know what I meant. By then, his arm in the picture was just at his side. He'd caught up. The gap had closed over the hole and left a smooth surface. And he's happier than me. And I will never tell him. Here is what I do now, every Sunday, and I'm aware of how it sounds. I take out a notebook and I write down every person I love. Their names, their birthdays, where they live. I write it in pen. And then, this is the part, I call one of them. Not to check on them, to make them say something back, so that there is a new piece of them in the world that didn't exist this morning. Something fresh that the smoothing over hasn't had time to reach yet. I keep them current. I keep them recent. I'm convinced, I can't prove it, you can't prove it either, that the ones who slip away quietly are the ones nobody bothered to make recent. I check the list for gaps. I count the names against the number at the top of the page. The day those don't match, I'll know it started again. And I'll know I won't be fast enough. Because I wasn't fast enough the first time. And the first time it was someone who, with his last warm, tired breath of a voicemail, asked me for the one thing I never got around to giving him. He asked me to call back. I'm calling everyone now, all of them, every Sunday. It's 2 years too late for the only call that mattered, and I will spend the rest of my life dialing anyway, listening for the one name the world won't let me finish saying.